Look around you. The American culture and the American family is self-destructing. Shortly after birth, our children are rushed into the arms of grandparents or daycare attendants. For the next 18 years, they will spend the majority of their waking hours each week in an institution, not with their parents. Question: why bring them into the world if we're going to expect others to raise them? Substitute parenting is killing the American home. (1941) To rescue a world at war, great men were drawn from their homes and onto the battlefield. Great women were drawn away from their families and into the workforce in order to support that war effort. These men and women have been called the greatest generation, and in many respects, they were. When World War II was finally over, many of those men never returned home. Those that did found it hard to pick up where they had left off. Many women were forced to remain in the workforce in order to support their family. They too found it nearly impossible to go back. Over time, the enormous cost of their absence has become apparent. Men who had been hardened by war found it difficult to bond with their sons. The father-son validation that is so necessary for young men to pass into manhood was often left undone. The media and other cultural outlets glorified the strong silent type. The family suffered. Women, toughened by the need to support the war effort, struggled to validate their daughters. Domestic skills of the past became old wives' tales in the present. The feminist movement championed this theme and ridiculed anyone who would suggest that a woman's place was in the home. The family suffered. Modern technology filled in the gaps. Washing machines, dryers, microwave ovens, dishwashers, etc. made it easier to live life on the run. Rather than face awkward moments of family interaction, watching television replaced family conversation. The family suffered. Public schools were encouraged to become the providers of home economics, shop, and sex education classes. Parents were no longer looked to as the primary instructors in these most basic and sensitive areas. The family suffered. Social time replaced family time. The soccer mom was born. Parents attempted to validate their children by yelling encouragement from the stands. Sports, dance, band practice, and other after-school activities replaced family time. Parents convinced themselves that it was for the best. After all, they argued, children need socialization. The family suffered. When America's greatest generation was pulled from their homes in order to fend off genocidal insanity, Hitler stole more than just freedom and the lives of millions. He also gutted the American family. Their absence set in motion a tragic chain of events, and the void left within the American home continues to compound its effects with each passing generation. Today, well, for nearly a century, the American family has suffered from the effects of declining generational momentum. Surely by now we can conclude that the last 75 years of liberal social engineering have been a miserable failure. Do you know anyone who would say that our culture is improving? Do you know anyone who would conclude that we are safer and more moral? Would anyone conclude that we have a greater sense of decency or that the American family is more stable? If not, then why do we continue repeating the same generational mistakes of the past? It is time to own up to our failures. It is time for radical repentance. It's time to discard the false teachings about a mild-mannered Messiah. It's time to embrace the actual nature of Christ. Grace is not always warm and fuzzy. When the house is burning down around us and materialistic humanism has lulled us into a disastrous slumber, blunt and to the point might be our only salvation. Please join me on live Facebook every Friday morning at 11 Central Time for an expanded discussion of topics like this. Last Days Live examines end times current events and real-time applications for the vigilant Christian. Archived recordings can be found at sunnychows.com.